Hey everyone, it's Ellis, and this is going to be another speed VOD review between G2 and Fnatic. The series is tied 1-1. I just got done watching game 1 and 2. Game number 2, Fnatic took a lot of needlessly aggressive trades over arbitrary parts of the map. G2 was able to just get too far ahead and then eventually close it out over a few team fights. So nonetheless, though, I feel like Fnatic had the way better end of the draft until the very end, where they hit themselves in their own foot by picking Renekton, but they still overall had the better draft if the game would go to the later stages, and also relative to color inside of the game. So we'll see if anything gets changed up here for game number 3. And the bans are seemingly the same right now, Qiyana and Yasuo being banned away. And Yuumi. Sylas picked up again. And now Akali and Gragas is going to be the mirror. And we are seeing another one of those situations. Now, this is very interesting. They opt for the Kled. So again, Kled forces Kai'Sa's hand, and there is not yet enough information on the enemy team to make these picks so proactively, if we view this from a trading card game standpoint. So now at this point, all that you have to do as red team is draft mid-range, late-game type things. You draft, I don't want to say AoE wave clear, but you draft creature removal. You draft, creature destruction, minion destruction, and everything like that. Things to stall the game out, and then you have your trump card, your Planeswalker, or your really big, victory card or something. You have your win con. And so that's why these 3 champions this early on comes with an onus of a stopwatch that you basically put onto yourself, that I don't really like, because Kai'Sa, I feel like she's fundamentally misunderstood inside of the meta and the way that she actually fit in, as well as her rise to power in recent weeks and months. And then I think that Kled straight up follows a certain line of thought. So I think this is not good right now. And so the mid laner should just be a control-y kind of mid laner, something that's able to be defensive in nature and have the mid-range to late game type of theme inside of its kit, and then you can just have the Akali go onto the top end. Or alternatively, if you want the Akali to be mid, then the top laner can follow that train of thought, in which case this can just be a gangplank, and then you can use this pick to most likely be support or ADC. If you'd want it to be ADC and you have Gangplank right here, you can choose a hyperscaling ADC that is still going to be relevant at different breakpoints inside of the game. And thus, when I say that, I don't mean choose something like Twitch or Tristana, but you could choose something like Kog'Maw. For instance, you can choose something like Kog because he can stand his ground with a Gangplank ultimate on top of him, and then he can just shred through the front line, and then Kai'Sa is dissuaded from being able to get into the back line. Kog'Maw also doesn't have an ult that Sylas really utilizes all that well, and I know that I've advocated for Kog'Maw twice now, but that would be the potential line of thought. This should always, 100 million trillion % of the time, be a Gangplank, and it's not. There's a few other top laners that I could suggest, but I think that Gangplank ultimately fits the mold against the options that G2 has remaining. So now we move forward into the bans. Because they end up picking Jax, I suppose that you can try to just pinch jungler pool. The thing about the Skarner that is really awkward is, again, this shows a misunderstanding. You should entice the team to have more of the same theme, and then you just hard go against the theme. If you give them a chance to recalibrate and you yourself go off theme, it's really bad. Anyone that's ever drafted or played a Hearthstone Arena, if you could imagine if there was more players that were sharing a card pool, you'll be able to understand what it is that I'm talking about. And then Thresh is picked away, even though, Morgana is an option, and you already do want to be picking ADC. Oh, God. You already do want to be picking ADC outright. Tristana isn't, if you ask yourself, what does Triss do different than Kog'Maw or something of that, she has a little bit more flexibility, but in the grand scheme of things, she's going to have less oomph at certain stages depending on how the game's going. Kog'Maw is very, very scary. And so I don't like the Tristana compared to the Kog. It still does follow a similar train of thought, even though I do think it's a bad pick. another one of those situations where they're picking more pick and heavy engage and stuff, and this is why if we know that this is going to be the theme of their comp from right here, you should have prepared for it and then recalibrated at each step of the draft because their first 3 picks are too forceful. So I actually feel like these drafts by G2 are so vulnerable, assuming even level skill team. If you do G2 versus G2, it's a lot easier for red team to smash blue if they open with something like this. So. And now Sejuani and Braum, so they get the glacial combo and they have the setup for the hard kind of engage. And now this is where a champion down in bottom lane, so imagine here you had Kog'Maw or you had Caitlyn or you had something of that nature against these champs. This is where you can, you can even have something like Ashe if you have a Gangplank or something, even though some people might say that, well, Kled and stuff can just dive onto her and then you're giving Sylas Enchanted Crystal Arrow. But in a spot like this, Zyra is quite a nightmare for this team. Her ultimate in the later stages of the game, as well as under tier 2 turrets or in defensive situations and holding phalanxes, Zyla not only scales better than some of the carries on the side of G2, she scales in a way that it makes their team composition extremely difficult to function after 2 items if they don't have a massive advantage. This is actually a Zyra spot that's really good. This is also obviously a Morgana spot, not the end of the world for a Morgana pick by any means, but obviously Morgana would like to have a different kind of ADC accompanying it, and this is why if you have Gangplank right here, Kog'Maw right here, Morgana right here, or you have Gangplank right here, Caitlyn right here, Zyra right here, Ashe right here, and then whatnot, you ask yourself, what does G2 do if they don't get a massive lead? But then how do they get a massive lead? Because they're going to be bleeding down in bottom lane. Sylas is then pressured to do things in the bottom lane, but then because of the dynamics of the matchups in mid as well as top, the junglers both actually have freedom, in which case Gragas is actually able to do more than the Sejuani, which means that the Sejuani is off theme with the Kled, the Kai'Sa, and the Sylas, and you feel really bad. So that's pretty much it. Instead, they end up hovering a Shen and locking it in, which plays into G2's team composition. So, bad draft by both teams. They're clearly drafting what they want to draft, rather than evaluating how applicable certain situations in the game are likely to be and how they're likely to unfold. So this is actually 3 games in a row now, where I feel like G2 drafted really, really, really badly, assuming even skill level. So again, G2 versus G2, I don't know, G2 Fnatic or something, like similar skill level. And when I use this comparison in the LCK, if you have this type of team composition for a higher end LCK team and the the GP, COG, whatever type of team composition is even something as weak as like Hanwha Life or KT or Jin Air, those are, interestingly enough, the kind of games where you saw the bottom-end teams sort of stand a chance against the higher-end teams because of how applicable the situation, that is awesome graphics, how applicable the majority of the situations that you can expect to occur will actually end up unfolding. So early on, it's a spread out. I really, really, really hate Fnatic's team composition. It's basically fighting fire with fire, and there's no reason to do that. And so it's not exactly a mono red mirror, but it's actually why sometimes red decks have options to flex into something else, and it really favors the mirror. Anyone that plays Magic would understand that. Like the post-board game or something. And basically, because of the way that this game started in the draft, Fnatic had more than enough information to play it back. So game starts off really, really, really bad. Let's take a look if they can actually give it over to Caps. They can definitely give it over to Caps. There's not a universe where Gragas can actually make it away, I don't believe. Let's take a look. One more time. Body slam. I'm pretty sure, yeah, you can give it over to Caps. Yeah, you can always give it over to Caps. So if you give it over to Caps, and then you have him come into mid, expend all 3 corrupting potions, and hard shove the cannon wave, you have him recall without using his teleport, he gets a Dark Seal, and he gets like Dark Seal and Dark Seal boots or something like that, and he runs back into the lane, and then the lane's coming into him, and Nemesis loses. So giving over to Caps would be a lot better. In fact, actually, I think giving it to Caps is by far the best possible option when you consider Caps' proximity to his own lane, in addition to how he can then play out the next 3 waves and use his life as a resource and take a lot of damage from Nemesis, because he knows that he can't actually die to Nemesis, utilizing, Aftershock, whatever, 3 Corrupting Potions, hard shoving in the wave. And even if Nemesis is expending a lot to try to keep him inside of the lane, it doesn't really matter all that much, because then you can just stay in the lane with Nemesis, who's using a lot of his resources, and then Nemesis is the one that would end up being more at risk. So now coming back into live, first dragon of the game is Ocean Dragon, which is really, really bad for G2. Their team composition wants to go in and one fell swoop, one killing blow. They're not trying to play any wars of attrition where a little bit of sustain would benefit them. And they also essentially have like 3 champions that don't really use mana. So Whippo trying to crash the wave in. He has Gragas in close proximity, so everything is going to be fine there. I actually can't see the top lane state right now. I'd really like to, as Whippo is going to TP. He has the wave in a really bad spot. So if Jankos actually eats blue and then eats Gromp, depending on what the play is, I think that this has to be the play out of the junglers. I think it's a forced play. It's a check. But apparently Whippo is going to come down. He's going to get intel on the Sejuani. He's actually going to go up a few minions in order to do this, and you can see how much of a nightmare situation this lane state actually is. And so Whippo, though, with a sizable enough minion wave and having intel on the Sejuani, she's not able to go up there. He's able to get the crash, I'm assuming, and then he'll be able to get the bounce back. Meanwhile, Caps in mid, he could recall off this wave. Instead, he's moving down to right side river, and they're fighting for no reason, and this actually just ends up benefiting Akali a lot more because it relieves a lot of pressure, and Caps loses out on some tempo. So really, really, really unfortunate for him. Brock's now heading down into bot lane. And G2 are trying really hard to force things, and this is the unfortunate situation that they've put themselves in with their draft, that it needs to have more gold than the opponents in order to function. This is why in Season 9, the meta is the way that it is in terms of scaling. You know, it's sort of like TCG metas. They come and go. You know, sometimes the meta really is red-black. Sometimes you go look at the Pro Tour and red-black is everywhere. Other times, control is everywhere. Everyone's playing Nexus. Alright, so lane state, not that good for Whippo. He's going to have to shove it back out. Kled also has pretty good items already, Ninja Tabai. And Jankos, he's going to pick up Ocean Dragon, but this really sucks. In fact, I would even say that it's actually worse than picking up, or just getting his rubber band counts on the Wolves as well as the Gromp. Because even though he gets the Ocean Dragon, you have a 33% chance to spawn another one. You know that it doesn't actually really benefit you. You fall behind a lot in tempo. And you can now see that even though he got the Ocean, it's not an applicable enough dragon due to the dynamic of how these lanes tend to fight. There is no war of attrition that is really played in any lane except for the Sylas, and even that, it's not a big enough argument to now know that you have rubber band, rubber band, rubber band, rubber band, rubber band. This is a very, very long clear, and Jankos wants to recall. So the dragon capture is really, really bad. It just doesn't make any sense why you would go over to get the Ocean. In the end, teamfight ends up taking place, and Nemesis is here. Gragas Cask, oof, really close call. And they take arbitrary teamfights for seemingly no purpose. It doesn't matter if it's a free Drake. How applicable is it in the game? Alright. So, Wonder's getting a little bit more HP from Ocean. Great. And it didn't matter. Well, no, they had a lot to do. Someone in Twitch chat saying, what else do you have to do? Well, let me show you what you have to do. This, and then this is respawning. And then this is going to respawn, and this is going to respawn, and then you have your red. Alright. Jankos actually lost out on more gold by getting the Ocean Dragon than, that's really sad. They end up killing Reckless. They expend a lot, too, which is really unfortunate. And the dragon's not really all that beneficial. The next one that is going to spawn, because it's just another Ocean Dragon, and it doesn't benefit their team composition at all. And they missed the kill onto Wonder. That's definitely a kill if they play it correctly. And now Hylissang is going to recall. Fnatic is still up 1,500 gold. And remember, their scaling on all their champions is a lot better. Nemesis is also up in XP. Reckless is also up in XP. Perks and Mickey, they're going to get a turret plate down here in bottom. But the game just really sucks for G2. This is why team comps like this are... God, why would you do this to yourself? Why would you do it? Oh, man. Nico's coming up. Level 6, Broxa is 7. Brox is also in closer proximity to more important jungle camps. And Fnatic, I mean, they just have to play a defensive game literally everywhere. Broxa going in. And they get the 1-for-1. Broxa should not use stopwatch there. Oh my god. No. Okay. And then turn it around like that. But Jesus. I know a lot of people watching it like, oh, I guess he should use stopwatch there. Just look at this one more time. Jankos can play it in a way where Broxa can't get away before Jax. So if Jankos is clicking better and he's on the other side, Gragas can't get away from Sejuani before Jax would be able to get to here and Jankos wouldn't die. So Jankos plays this badly. I'll show you where. Right here. See this click? Right? He just issued an auto attack, but he should have issued right here and then an auto attack to cover all the angles. So there's the way to play this where Jankos does not die to Bwipo. Yeah, he shouldn't use the stopwatch because he's dying anyway. So because he's dying anyway, you don't use the stopwatch. It doesn't matter that a turret shot's going to kill him because he's dead anyway. If Jankos plays right, he's dead anyway. Broxa cannot live. So because Broxa cannot live, regardless of the stopwatch, you don't use the stopwatch. That's how that works. All right. Meanwhile, G2 are giga far behind in this game. Jax just scales a lot better than Kled, and he's even actually ahead in gold despite being down so much in the CS department because he has those 2 kills. And now the Rift Herald goes over the way of Fnatic, and they gave it to Bwipo, which is actually the best case. G2 is investing in a Ocean Dragon, and it just sucks. It feels so bad. And obviously, if these are Mountain Drakes or they're Infernal Drakes, it really helps their team composition, but there's an even amount of chance to get Mountains and Infernals as there is to get Clouds and Oceans. But then also, Mountain Dragon is a false objective in some games where, because of the effect reads bonus damage to, epic monsters and, objectives, if you're not winning, the bonus damage doesn't do anything. You invested into a dragon that you cannot utilize, even if you can eventually utilize it at some point later in the game. And so, more often than not, there's a higher chance to get a dragon that you cannot immediately utilize, rather than one that you can, which is Infernal. And there's very few instances where Ocean Dragon is very good super, super early. Or not that Ocean Dragon is good super early. There's very few instances where you can actually get it super early, and then also be able to utilize it the way that you would want to. These team fights are just random. There's no objective. There's no objective. This team composition scales better. It scales better. And this team composition should not want to fight. Why? Why? Just makes no sense. It's just objectively bad macro play. It's really, really bad macro. It is a absence of awareness in terms of game state. It is not an identification of what their team composition needs to do rather than wants to do. It's not an identification of what G2 needs to have happen in the game, because G2 cannot sit here and say, yeah, let's go to 25 minutes. Let's go to 25 minutes against Tristana, Jax, and Akali. I'm sure that we'll do really good. So a lot of chaos in the game, but overall, very high variance decisions. And obviously, when you win these team fights, it feels a lot better because you accelerate the game a lot faster. But if both parties accelerate to a point in the future where they're aware that the high variance isn't worth it, and that certain team comps clearly scale better than others. I don't know what Jax is doing. I think he could have just... Oh, no, he's up there, and he missed out. Jax missed out on the chance to freeze in top. Wonder shoving back the lane, and so now Jax should look to freeze. Bwipo should take this wave all the way up here and freeze. There's another Ocean Dragon coming up in 45 seconds. Take this wave and take the next wave that'll come out and try to freeze it up here. And then laugh at Kled and laugh at how G2 can't actually fight. G2 cannot arbitrarily run up to the top turret. And then G2 they get another Ocean Dragon, and it doesn't matter. Because Jax continues to get more and more XP and more gold over Kled. And now Caps is giving a wave to Akali, but because of the proximity to the Ocean Dragon, and you know that you want your Jax up here freezing, you instantly eat the wave as it comes into you, as long as you have vision on Perks and Mickey. And then you eat the wave instantly so that the bottom lane stays dark. They eat the Dragon, and then you give up bot tier 1 turret, and you move Akali backwards. You want bot tier 1 to die at that point. Jax continues freezing. G2 looks for a team fight in mid lane. They can't actually get it. If they seem to want to posture around mid and then force to try to get the mid turret or something, you let them. And then after you let them, your jungle camps are eaten. While they invest into the getting the Ocean Dragon or something, you can also likewise send over your jungler to get the Scuttle Crab and clear out his red side camp. So you'll have the Scuttle Crab, Jax freezing in close proximity to top lane. Kled can't actually move up. Kled pulled himself into mid. Kali has Leandri's. It's the most busted item in the game. Varus should build it. Ezreal should build it. Kai'Sa should build it. Any champion that only has supportive items after like 1 or 2 cores should always build Leandri's if they utilize its passive. Always use Leandri's, because Madness by itself, let's say you get an 80 item, right? Let's say you get an 80 item that helps you deal 80 more damage per auto or something, right? If you stack up Madness, right, or something, and let's say that you're hitting for 380 in this situation, and you're hitting for 300 here or something, right? Madness by itself gives you 330, right? So it's actually converting to AD. And then Leandri's is burning them so hard. You get 300 HP, you get AP. So if you utilize the AP, it's the strongest item in the game. It's the strongest standalone supporting item in the entire game, and no one's building it. I know I've talked about it a lot on stream, and I know that I've talked about it in LCK cast. So maybe Nemesis is in the stream very, very often. So maybe fucking Nemesis knows. Fnatic chasing way too hard. End up winning anyway, but the fight doesn't need to take place. Let's take a look at it one more time. All right, right here, right? Now, they get the flashes, right? They get the flashes, and Mickey doesn't have to throw that Q. Mickey doesn't have to throw that Q. Mickey can already be back here if he doesn't throw the Qs, right? Silas at that point can then go mid, right? And as Silas is going mid, he eats the Wraith Camp. He clears it really fast, goes mid, pushes this, and then eats this Wraith Camp, goes left, eats the Scuttle Crab. Okay? They kill Wonder, but they can't kill Mickey X because he's way too far behind the turret. Maybe they kill Wonder, or Wonder, you know, flashes away or something like that. And then the minion wave is all the way over here, so it takes too long to escort it the entire way. They end up getting the golems. They get the red buff. They lose wraiths here, so it negates red buff. They still lose out a little bit because of the golems. Then they get the Scuttle Crab, so they end up coming out ahead on the golem trade, and then eventually Sejuani respawns and eats these two camps, and then Silas would have made his way up to top lane to start pushing the top lane. Maybe Nemesis TPs into top to catch this wave as well as the next wave. And I feel like that's the likely sequence of events. But your Jax almost has Spear of Sojourn. Your Tristana is approaching 3 items. Your Akali is probably pooling a lot of gold. If you take this game to 2.5, 3 items, there is no way Fnatic ever lose a team fight if they don't get picked off, which means that if they slow this game down till around a breaking point of a major neutral, which, you know, 25, 26, 27-minute Baron or something like that, 31 if you want it for super free, or they take the team fight at Infernal at 25 minutes and there's no way for them to lose it because their base scaling as well as their itemization is way too strong for G2 to handle. Silas did not need to die here. Caps did not need to accept the fight. Wonder also doesn't actually need to die here. And then if Mickey X and Wonder back up or something and Fnatic wait for the wave, remember Silas is already, he's moving on to the left-hand side. Broxah would recall, path to his Wraith, see that they're not there, path to the Scuttle Crab, see that they're not there. Probably not advance into the blue side jungle because Silas would then go top lane. Fnatic would get the bottom tier 2 turret. Perks would end up respawning. Mickey and Wonder is back here. Yankos would path to his wolves, eat his wolves, path up to the Gromp. And that would be the sequence of events if we're assuming that we are entertaining forced champion laws, basically, inside of the game. Eldridge is insane. Broxah dies. And now G2 with a worse team composition is down 5.1, yeah, roughly 5.1 thousand gold. And Fnatic's not even doing everything that they possibly could to make this game more brutal for G2. Mickey asked why it's up. Wait, did he really? Why is it up? All right, so let's look at like Ezreal, right? Back when Ezreal was really popular, so a few patches ago. Let's say Ezreal has Iceborne, right? So AoE slow. Ezreal has dual scaling on AD and AP, right? So he utilizes both. He gets 80 AP from Liandry's, and then he gets the 300 HP, which is pretty nice. All right, then he gets Madness passive, so 10% increased damage if he can maintain it inside of a fight. Now, let's say that maybe he doesn't get the full 10% or something, but it's really easy to get the full 10%. You go Iceborne Gauntlet, right? And you have Mod Immune, right? So you have hybrid damage. And then after this, you go Ludens. So you have hybrid damage, you go Ludens, and now you go Liandry's. Now, your Iceborne procs the Liandry slow by itself. Ludens procs Liandry's. And Madness is insane. So even though if you add in a Blade of the Ruin King, Ezreal is hitting a little bit harder. Let's say that his auto attacks hit for, you know, 350 or 360 or something, right? If he has Blade of the Ruin King, his autos hit a little bit harder. The Liandry's Madness makes it so that even though you're missing the AD from Blade of the Ruin King, Madness grants your auto attacks more damage. And it also obviously amplifies all the other damage. And obviously Blade of the Ruin King has the on-hit effect. The problem is that the Madness, combined with the slow from Iceborne Gauntlet, combined with the fact that all of his abilities are getting more AP scaling, combined with the War of Attrition, The item's insane. Yeah, it's broken. I know it's fucking insane on Israel. So now, let's say on Kai'Sa, right? Kai'Sa goes Rageblade, Monomune, Nashers, and then Liandry's. Suddenly, Kai'Sa Q and W, insane. Kai'Sa's tankier, in addition to that, because she has 300 HP, and she has Madness. So now if she stays inside of her fight, her Q, W are all ramped 10% by Madness. Because what's the other item that Kai'Sa's going to get? What's the next item that she would normally get? She would get like Zanya's, or she would get something like, I don't even know. Rabadon. Okay, Rabadon Deathcap, which is a very, I mean, obviously you can get Madness passive from Haunting Guys. So your Rabadons helps with the nukes, right? But in like Wars of Attrition, like if Kai'Sa's dancing here or something like that, but then in addition to that, just her auto attacks, Liandry's, if you hit multiple targets or you're shooting, is it Void Seekers or something, into the Fog of War, you're getting Madness, the damage is just literally going to Practice Tool. It's the most insane thing in the world. And obviously Rabadon's is a pretty good argument, but they're real, like, it's so, yes, your Q and your Q damage does a lot more, and Nashers will deal a lot more, but the burn from Liandry's and Madness, just go and look at it. It's absolutely bonkers. Silas should probably just go like Luden's, Zanya's, Liandry's. Fucking, I don't know, tell Caps, dude. Luden's, Zanya's, Liandry's, just do it up. Absolutely do it up. Jax, fuck it. 4th, 5th item, Liandry's. Who fucking cares? Get the Madness passive, make all your shit deal 10% more. It's insane. It is the most sleeper support item ever. Fucking bonkers. Any champion that can utilize AD, AP in the passive. Like Varus, you go on-hit Varus, right? You go Blade of the Rune King, Guinsu's Rageblade, Liandry's. Fucking Christ. All of his... So he gets the AP scaling on his abilities. Then he gets Madness, so he's dealing 10% more. And because he gets Madness for... so let's say... So he gets Madness off Haunting Guys, which is 1,500, right? Let's say that you want Varus to get like 1,300 BF Sword or something like that, or just another item. The 10% damage on all of his autos and ability will deal more than that item will grant him. And it gives him stats. And... So just go and do it, dude. It's the most sleeper, insane thing in the entire game. Liandry's mauledness, because it makes your opponents mauled. And I'm LS, Liandry's spokesperson. Well, it's not just outright math, right? Because I believe like outright math, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong if they want to go into Practice Tool, Lethality Lucian deals the most damage, right? If you just want to look at outright math. How applicable it is to a competitive game is what you have to entertain. So I'm entertaining the Kai'Sa dances around Baron, the Void Seekers being shot into things, and suddenly a Void Seeker takes half your life. I'm entertaining the Madness passive being kept up during a team fight, applying Liandry's to several targets at once. Several. They're all just ticking. And then also having 300 extra HP. Like, now that messes with assassination thresholds or like burst thresholds. It's really insane. You guys remember when 80 carries used to have like HP or something? Not the Targon. Weren't they building Warmogs or something at one point? Weren't they building Giant's Belt or something? I'm looking at Max right now, but... Was it Ronduin's? Yeah. Oh, yeah, so like, it's the same thing. Liandry's is so busted, dude. So busted. You want to know what else is busted? Malzahar. Malzahar's sleeper and no one's using him. He doesn't slow down. He goes all the way to 6 items. He destroys the current meta. Even though he's nerfed. Anivia is OP. There was a game I cast in the LCK. Anivia single-handedly held off a 15,000 gold deficit at 25 minutes. Never seen anything like it in my life. Can you imagine if there were pros that were legitimately insane at Anivia, and the player that played it was actually the Anivia god that had like several thousand? And don't even say Froggen right now, okay? Don't even say Froggen right now. Okay? Because if he could pilot Anivia the way that she can be piloted, you just pick her. She is disgusting. What champion in the game can hold off what champ can you look at like an 8K gold deficit and be like, it's all right, I got this? And obviously, like, the team with an 8K gold advantage can do things a little bit differently, but come on. Point still remains. Anyways, here in this game, Fnatic are just light years ahead. And G2, you can see that they can't take a team fight. This is a byproduct of their bad draft. Really sucks. So this is 3 games in a row now of really bad draft. Fuck. And I know that some people are gonna say, like, oh well, they could have played differently, but why? Why do you go into something with the necessity to outplay the opponent? Why do you go into something with the onus being put on you when Riot has put in ways to play around vision early? Riot has put in comeback mechanics, rubber banding XP, all of these things that make your job harder. But then on top of that, why would you do it on blue side when you give red team ability to recalibrate draft? But I'll talk about that in another video. All right. Teleport up on Whippo. He could easily take the entire wave that Kled keeps giving him and then freeze at the bottom. And then if G2 try to force a team fight, even though Kled is very scary with his ult, he can TP in, they can take the team fight, and the game ends. But instead, they're playing ping pong for a really long time. Not that it really matters all that much, because Fnatic's team comp is just way too much stronger. This really sucks for G2. Like, they have no insurance policy. Sylas is the same champion now, every item forward, unless he built Leandri's. Sylas would have one more item where he gets better, which is Leandri's Torment, if he builds it. Kled is the same champion. Well, I guess GA on Kled, actually, he's not totally the same champion, but with the way that the team fights are going to play out, he's basically the same champion, because there's no way that it's a clean ending. And then the periodic damage from Fnatic is very high on multiple champions, and that's very good at answering Kled. So this is pretty bad. Game's over. Game's really... There's no way I can imagine G2 coming back from this. There's no possible way. Yeah, they're starting up the Baron. This is a really good way to start it. The 2-man with Nemesis zoning. Yep, Tristana coming in, but then G2 comes over. I guess... you can't just do Baron. Really like that Fnatic. Let me actually see if there was an opening at 20. Or actually, no, actually, I hate this. Fnatic should... Oh, no, there's not. There's no way to stop the Elder. So Fnatic actually just shouldn't take Cloud Dragon. Do they take Cloud Dragon? They're the superior team fighting comp. And if you look at how G2 fights with how, like, skirmishy they are, how scrappy they are, and the 3 Ocean Dragons, you don't want Elder to spawn. You just never, ever want Elder Dragon to spawn. So they should not take Cloud, but I guess I'm going to watch to see if Cloud is going to be captured. And I know that some people are like, well, if they're such a better team comp, why wouldn't you want Elder to spawn? Well, the answer to that is, what is the percentage chance that Fnatic wins a team fight with no Elder? The number is still probably extremely high, probably above 90% in most situations, right? Now you ask yourself the question, what is G2's chance to get the Elder Dragon right now? 0. What is Fnatic's chance to get the Elder Dragon? 0. Okay. If the Elder Dragon exists in the game, what kind of a percent increase does it grant Fnatic to win the team fight? It probably, it probably makes the team fight unlosable, but by the time it would spawn, this number is probably something like 95%. You know what I mean? And so you're causing a dragon to spawn that increases you from like 95 to 100. But now let's say that G2 have a 1% chance to get that Elder. The situations that have to occur for the 1%, if Elder's not on the map, right? The 1% team fight or the 5% team fight in this situation, right? The 5% team fight that goes their way, if they only end up being rewarded with a Cloud Dragon, that means you get a chance at a 95% again. So how do you lose it? How do you lose a 95% chance twice? So this is actually you're running it twice in a way. If anyone knows poker, you're running it twice at 95%. If you leave the cloud up, you say, okay, we win 95 out of 100 times. Let's say G2 beats you one of those 5 times, right? They get a Cloud Dragon. Now the Elder's coming up. Again, it's 95-5. It's a nightmare situation. But in the situation where you take the Cloud Dragon and the Elder spawns, if the 5% is met and they kill you and get the Elder, now the chance for them to win a team fight, it actually swings so heavy. Fnatic's probably going to lose the team fight. It probably favors G2 like 90+% of the time. 3 elemental dragon Elder with full item Kaisa, Kled, and Silas just running at you. So because of this, currently in the game, there's a 0% chance by both of the teams to get an Elder Dragon. If Fnatic knows that they win 95 out of 100 times without Elder, but it only increases by 5% by allowing the Elder to spawn, they should be wanting to run the 95-5 situation twice because of how unreasonable it is to expect them to lose it twice. And that's why you don't take Cloud Dragon as Fnatic. All right. Yep. Fnatic's doing a really bad thing by making the Elder spawn. It's a very, very, very bad decision. Oh, man. Yeah. There is no universe G2's team comp can win. This is why draft is so important in Season 9. Talk about it all the time on the LCK broadcast. You guys remember my tweet? You know what a boggart or a boggart is in Harry Potter? You guys know what that is? It's a thing that turns into your worst fears when it's before you. All right? It is a thing that just turns into your worst fears. My boggart is takes on the form of a television screen and plays me draft phases from pro teams in Season 9. That's what mine is. Game's just not winnable. Caps didn't build the Andres, GG. Okay. I'm assuming that this is lost in just one major decisive team. Whoa, no. Don't tell me Elder spawns. Oh, my. Oh, no. Okay. G2 is really far up. Oh, okay, okay. So this is the team fight, right? This is a team fight. Oh, my God. Nemesis gets popped right away. But imagine something else goes wrong here. And then G2 gets the Elder. Oh, my God. That's why you just don't take the Cloud Drake. Now, they end up winning anyway, but the point still remains that if that was a Cloud and Fnatic lose this fight, they can breathe to themselves and say, okay, we only lost a Cloud. We're not going to lose that again. Now they get an Elder, so, I mean, it's pretty impossible to lose. Now it's like 100%. They're probably just going to attack move through them now, I would imagine, if they can actually still fight when the Dragon's still alive. 30 seconds. They actually don't have a wave. Oh, well, no, they're still probably going to fight. Maybe G2 is going to fight them. They're not going to wait the 20 seconds or something. No, okay, actually, G2 is being very patient. This is very good. And Fnatic's actually not going to team fight. The Elder lines up in... Oh, no, wait, that was a Baron spawn time? Oh, that was a Baron spawn time. Why isn't there an Elder time? That's very strange. I'll fast forward. That's another Baron. Fnatic are taking a very long time to close out this game, which is really sad. They needed Zanya's on Akali sooner to add mix-ups. Well, that's the next Elder that spawns in the top left. This does not make me feel very good when Fnatic's taking this long to close, but it does look like they will finally thread the needle here. There's no way for G2 to hang on. And interestingly enough, this is actually where we're basically seeing... I mean, Sylas and Akali are essentially even, right, in terms of items. Like, he's down a Seeker's Arm Guard. Realistically, it's 4 items against 4 items, right? These two champions are basically fulfilling the same role, even though Gragas has a base level. They're basically doing the same thing. Jax is obviously a lot more massive, and Jax has a Jerome's Fist over Kled. But Kai'Sa's full items and Tristana's full items, and then the supports are, I guess Knight's Vow on Shen and Solari. That one's not balanced. But all in all, you can just see how hard it is for G2. Although I guess that kind of sounds like result-based analysis, but it's so insane. It requires such insane setup for them to be able to win a team fight. So that's pretty much it. So this game was a bad draft by both sides, but Fnatic found the edge in the draft once again. But it was 3 consecutive games where Fnatic had a draft edge. So